genre.
Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review, discuss, and recap every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
And I'm Scott Corelli.
And today on the show, we will be discussing Kinda, not Kinda, the Fifth Doctor's third story, and what an adventure it is, Scott.
Yeah.
And Cassandra.
So Kinda is written by first-time writer for Doctor Who, Christopher Bailey. This is his first script at the time. And directed by Peter Grimwade, whose previous story was Logopolis, the Fourth Doctor regeneration story. So he returned for Kinda. Christopher Bailey had actually been asked to write a script for the show back when, I believe it was, who was it? I forget. Who was the guy that was not the transitional script editor, but the guy that was at the tail end of, but like before Eric Sayward, there's a transition guy, and then before him, there was another guy.
Oh.
I forget what his name was. Bidmead?
Yes.
Is it Bidmead?
Yes.
I think, yeah, Bidmead. So Bidmead, he hired Bailey to do this script because, Christopher Bidmead. So he asked Christopher Bailey. That's why I was confused, because it's two Christophers.
Yeah.
Okay. So Christopher Bidmead, the script editor in the late 70s, or I guess this would have been early 1980, and then he left at the end of 1980. Yeah. So early in 1980, he asked Christopher Bailey, who was a graduate, just a graduate student, it looks like, at the time. And he came up with this story. He had done a couple of plays, and then he envisioned this story called The Kinda, using all of this like crazy Buddhist mysticism that he was super into. And he was writing it for Tom Baker's Doctor, only to find out as he was writing that it would actually be done for, it was supposed to be for season 19, but he assumed that it would be for Tom Baker. But Tom Baker decided to regenerate at the end of 18, so he had to rewrite it for Peter Davison. And at the time, Tom Baker's Doctor was fulfilling the role of a wise sage that the Fifth Doctor couldn't really do well. I would argue that, he could have, and it would have been really interesting if he had kept him in that role, and would have, I think, further shown that the Doctor is more than the age that he's presenting himself as. Right. But I don't know if they had that sort of outside the box thinking back then. So they didn't think like that.
It's something you can imagine happening in like a Matt Smith story.
Right. Totally. So he was told, on top of that, not only that the Doctor's changing, but also there would be two new companions in the form of Adric and Tegan. So he made the changes, he wrote the scripts, and then later they decided that Nyssa would also be a regular character. And he's like, okay, look, I've already rewritten this twice. If I have to incorporate Nyssa, I will have to rewrite it a third time. Can I just leave Nyssa out of the story? Have her stay at the TARDIS because she's feeling ill or something? And they're like, yeah, I guess so. Like, we haven't, that was like a common practice in the 60s in Doctor Who, but hadn't been since then. The regulars would be given, they would be like an episode like once or twice a season. They would just be missing for an episode, the characters, so that the actor could have a week off. And that's something that they hadn't done since the 60s because the recording blocks weren't as grueling as they were back then. But so this brought it back. This is the first time that a regular character was not in an episode of Doctor Who since the 60s, which is crazy.
I wonder what she did with that week.
I don't know. She had 6 days off. Yeah. Because they shot this whole thing in 6 days. The other thing that was happening right now was that there was a transition happening because we had the transitional guy whose name I'm not seeing here, but he worked with, so Bailey worked with Bidmead, and then he worked with the transitional guy, and then Sayward came over, Eric Sayward, who would then be the showrunner for quite a few seasons. And when Eric Sayward took over the show as script editor, they took some time off. So they recorded the first 2 stories, and then they took something like 3 or 4 months, maybe even 6 months off work. And while that transition was happening, and during that time, Peter Davison went and recorded another show. He recorded the last season of another show that he was working on at the time. And when they came back, they started with Kinda, and Eric Sayward was now the script editor, and Eric Sayward started rewriting Kinda to take out a lot of the mysticism stuff, or at least to make it more simple for people to understand better. Mm-hmm. And Bailey was not a fan of that. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, look, you need this to be more digestible this first time, but I'll let you write a sequel to the story, and then you can go as nuts as you want in that. Because everyone will have this baseline that you can then build off of. So that was the agreement. So Bailey was like, okay, and he just started writing what would become Snake Dance. And we will get to that in a year and a half. But yeah, so he went and started writing the sequel. Excited to get all of the wacky mysticism that he got left out of Kinda. And what happened was they went to go shoot it, and they shot the first 3 episodes, all of which ran long, and then the 4th one was short. So they actually they finished shooting. And this happened in the edit bay. So they were editing the episode, realized that episode 4 was about 4 minutes short. And so they're like, okay, we can't pull stuff from the other episodes because it doesn't really work like that. So we need new material to pad the 4th episode. And so they asked Christopher Bailey, who was in the middle of writing Snake Dance, to write 2 extra scenes to pad episode 4. And so he wrote the 2 extra scenes, and then they filmed the 2 extra scenes when they made Earthshock, because Grimwade also directed Earthshock. So they just went and quickly shot those 2 extra scenes and slapped them into episode 4 as it was about to go on the air. The 2 scenes are Tegan and Adric talking about Hindle's bomb, and the Doctor assuring everybody that Hindle is no longer a threat. Those 2 scenes in episode 4 are the buffer scenes. So kind of interesting. That's all I've got.
I thought Nyssa was not included because they wanted to kill her, behind the scenes.
That's not what I'm reading here.
Oh.
Like the actress?
No, not the actress. The character. They wanted to write her out of the show.
No, that's not what I read here at all.
Oh. Because I remember there being, tension behind the scenes because either Sayward or John Nathan Turner wanted Nyssa gone, but Peter Davison had to fight and be like, Nyssa is the only companion that really makes sense with my doctor. So if you leave me with these two, like, there's no promises to, like, it makes no sense for you to kill the one companion that actually gels with my doctor. So that's why Earthshock is a thing.
Well, I can only think of one way to solve this problem. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Sayward.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's not in here at all in the information I have. Are you sure it's not another episode that problem happened?
I don't.
Or as a result of this story where they're like, oh, it worked better without her.
I don't know. I thought it was because it was a big deal that she's not in this one and she gets sick at the end of the last one, and they're like, well, we'll just write her out.
Yeah. But of course I'll care for Nessa.
Well, I don't know.
It's a wicked joke for all you wicked fans out there.
I appreciate it.
Could be
Thank you.
could just be, I mean,
It might
I don't
just
know.
be like
could,
hearsay.
Yeah. Well, and it could just be like hearsay and assumptions where it's like, yes, that was a problem and that was a thing that may have happened, or like conversations that were being had. And there could be people just assuming that it happened here because Nissa's not in this.
Right.
Like, matching the drama to the events of the story or something. Yeah. But it might not have synced up like that.
That's fair.
I don't know. Because all I have here is that he just didn't want to write a third draft.
That's also totally understandable.
Who does?
Yeah. Yeah. True. So before we get into the story proper, I wanted to talk about a couple of Doctor Who.
Yes, me too. I was hoping you had seen this.
Okay. So first, I want to talk about the first thing, which I brought up. We have like a little DM conversation Twitter thing, but yes, but like Eddie Redmayne was being interviewed and about Fantastic Beasts, and they compared his character Newt
Scamander.
Newt Scamander to Matt Smith's Doctor, and was like, "Oh, do you see the resemblance?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I could see it."
I suppose I do somehow, in some way. I do.
Yeah, he's like literally just exactly Matt Smith's Doctor.
Which is interesting because originally Matt Smith was in the running to play Newt Scamander.
Right. Huh. Yeah. He was one of the finalists. It was literally just like it was between Matt Smith and Eddie Redmayne, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. And then they saw Terminator Genesis.
Well, I assume that Matt Smith. I mean, I don't know if it was that or if it was Eddie Redmayne's turn as Stephen
sure,
Hawking.
yeah.
But regardless, because to be totally fair, Eddie Redmayne was in a terrible movie that year too.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Or at least he was terrible in a movie. He was terrible in a movie that year. Matt Smith was in a terrible movie, and Eddie Redmayne was terrible in a movie.
That's charitable for Jupiter Ascending, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just know a lot of people really like that movie, so
sure.
I don't want to.
Whoa, do I like Terminator Genesis more than Jupiter Ascending? Anyway, I'm gonna have to.
You have to
tune in next
think about
week.
that.
Do some introspection, I guess.
So anyway, he talked about how he's a Whovian and how he has watched the show since it came back. He's like a really big fan.
Well, of course,
and he said that he's always wanted to play the Doctor, but he's never wanted to be one of the young Doctors. He's like, as much as I love Matt Smith and what David Tennant did, he's like, I've always wanted to be the Doctor, but like when I'm 60. And I was like, I don't know that I've ever heard an actor express a desire to play the Doctor as an old man, like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was really interesting and kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a really intelligent dude. Every time I watch like interviews with him or like podcasts or like I watch those Hollywood Roundtable stuff on YouTube that the Hollywood Reporter does. And it's a very interesting kind of It's a it's a quote by someone you can tell that has an appreciation for the show.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That he's not like, yeah, I'll play the Doctor Who man.
Yeah. Right. That's how I imagine Colin Farrell doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Why not? I'll play the Doctor, whatever.
Right. What
everything else in my life is going so goddamn weirdly.
Are you super familiar with Eddie Redmayne at all?
Me?
Yeah, you, Cass.
Oh.
The one that hasn't spoken.
No, I like him.
Oh, okay.
Did you like Jupiter Ascending?
I actually haven't seen Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, I would love for you and Norman to watch Jupiter Ascending.
We
together.
actually are planning on it whenever we get around to our weekend edition, because we want to watch movies that the other cast have been in. And I was like, we were thinking,
Sean Bean.
Yeah, we were thinking about like, what the heck is Sean Bean in?
You mean do you mean Lord of the Rings Minute?
Yes. What did I say?
You didn't say anything.
Oh,
You said the weekend edition.
You just said the weekend.
sorry.
Edition.
I'm just,
It's like, who's Norman? What weekend edition?
we talk about it on the show. They should know. I don't.
Maybe they don't.
I don't doubt the audience's attention to details.
Well, Sean Bean is amazing in Jupiter Ascending.
Isn't he like a flock of bees or something?
He's like he's definitely a dog man, but
I thought Channing Tatum was the dog man.
they're both dog men.
Oh,
Hey, dog man. And they, but yeah, he also has a really good, he also has a really good little monologue about bees. And, he gives Channing Tatum a really good motivational speech.
because we were like, what has Sean Bean been in? That's a really hard sentence to say, that he hasn't like died or not Game of Thrones. And I was like, oh, well, a National Treasure and
GoldenEye.
oh yeah, he's in that. But then I was like, oh dude, Jupiter Ascending, we haven't seen that yet. So But isn't Eddie Redmayne the like whispery, glittery David Bowie villain?
Yeah. So funny story about Eddie Redmayne and Jupiter Ascending. So
Is this Doctor Who related in any way? Because
no, in no way,
we should
shape,
probably keep going.
never mind. I have a lot of Jupiter Ascending stories that I've collected.
I know, and I'm just trying to keep the train on the rails.
Of course.
So the other bit of news is and granted, this comes from the Daily Mail, so take it with a grain of salt. But the Daily Mail is reporting that the BBC want a clean break between showrunners, which would mean that Peter Capaldi and Bill, and I guess Nadine, whatever that guy's name is, Nadine, how do you say his name?
Who?
Nagini.
The bald dude,
Oh,
the chubby bald
Whatever.
guy who's a companion this season.
is he?
I forget.
No, I thought he was for the Christmas special.
No, he's an ongoing companion.
Wait, Matt
through the
Lucas
whole-
is going to be in the show for like a while.
for the whole season.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been fun, guys.
yeah.
Why?
No, I know.
Why couldn't
I'm
we
not.
just let-
I'm
why couldn't
not.
we just let Bill be her own thing?
Well, apparently, they are not a fan of this season at all. The BBC,
great.
like they've seen stuff and they're not into it, and they want a clean break. They want to end Peter Capaldi's run.
No,
They want to end Bill and Nadine, and then they want to start over with a new, fresh season 5-ish.
Whoa! So Bill
fresh
might be a
take on-
one-season companion.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's not that crazy. I mean Donna and
Donna
Martha
and
were
Martha.
both one.
Well, yeah, but
season.
that was like a decade ago.
Well, yeah, but it's not unheard of.
I mean, it's weird.
That's the rumor, and that they want to take the show back to a young Doctor.
No.
They don't want the old Doctor because apparently they're not selling any merchandise, and the numbers are like bleeding out, and they're just like, if you want to keep the show going, and we need a young Doctor again because that's when the show made money. So
That's sad.
That's very fascinating. It makes me really interested in watching season 10. I mean, not like I wasn't before, but
yeah, right. I mean, when it airs, we're gonna watch it. But
we're going to watch season 10, guys.
Yeah, make no mistake. But what I mean, I look at this and I just think, one, it's Daily Mail, so take it with a grain of salt.
Of course.
And
it's a very Daily Mail story to run.
It is, and it could be. It's a thing where it's like I was reading Kyle Anderson, who has been on this show previously. Kyle Anderson is writing for Nerdist, and he writes most of the Doctor Who stories on Nerdist, if not all of them. And he wrote about this, and he said that the Daily Mail's information could be about how the merchandising is going down, and they're making assumptions about what their plans are going to be. But he points out that the BBC aren't stupid, and that just because merchandise sales have gone down, it could be from one of two things. One, merchandising sales have gone down since Peter Capaldi took the role because merchandise sales were up further than they'd ever been before for the 50th anniversary, which had happened just before Matt Smith regenerated.
That's true.
Sure.
And so it's like a false equivalency that the reason that the merchandise sales have dropped is because Peter Capaldi became the Doctor. That's number one.
The proof, the logic there is faulty.
Right. Number two, the other reason that he says that their logic is faulty about merchandise sales is because he goes, of course merchandise sales have dropped off. There hasn't been a new episode of Doctor Who in a year. Yeah. What would be selling? Nothing. Mm-hmm. There's nothing new to sell. And so like the last new bit of Doctor Who merchandise was the 12th Doctor's new sonic screwdriver that we got, at the very end of last season. So, yeah, I mean, what can you do? So his point was like, the BBC smart, they know the way that their business is working. And he said that this sounds like, the Daily Mail just wanting people to read their magazine or their.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm choosing to go, just because those are some big leaps in that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to choose to kind of put this on the Donald Trump side of things that are true, in which it's a thing that's not true.
That's fair.
So I have a bit of news to share, actually.
Okay.
About Doctor Who, not Jupiter Ascending. So this is actually a bit. Have you guys heard about the new announcements about season 10 writers?
No.
Oh yes, that's right. Have you heard this, Cass?
No, I haven't.
So can I share it, Scott?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I think it's weird that you're sharing it because you've never seen the story that they wrote.
Okay. Do you have like
you share the Modern Who one, and I'll share the other one.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that you have like the information like at the ready.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Cass and listeners, two screenwriters for the upcoming season of Doctor Who are sharing some insider info about the episodes they've been writing for spring 2017. Jamie Matheson has signed on to write episodes of Doctor Who. You might remember Jamie Matheson's work for is it a woman or a man?
I think it's a man.
Okay, well that's a shame. He wrote Mummy on the Orient Express and The Girl Who Died with Stephen Moffat
and Flatline.
And Flatline, yeah. Mm-hmm. So he is writing an episode that and here's the quote. So what can I tell you? Well, my episode this year is very, very scary. Like, seriously. So let's go behind the sofa and just stay there until it's over scary.
Oh, boy.
I've got more shocks and tense scares than anything I've ever written. And that's coming from a man who wrote an episode of My Parents Are Aliens. It's also a taut thrill ride, a gag fest, a pitch black satire. And for the first time, I'm writing for Bill and Nardole.
See? Bill and Nardole.
I hate that. I'm
Yeah, so do
excited
I.
that he's back because I like his writing a lot, but
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the other writer. You ready for this cast? Nothing will prepare you for what I'm about to say.
okay.
One of the returning writers to series 10 is Rona Munro,
And what story?
the writer of Survival.
What the muffins?
Yeah.
I had to censor myself.
What the muffins indeed, Cass.
Wait, okay.
Scott, would you like to tell the listeners who Roma Monroe is?
Yeah, so Rona Munro is the writer of Survival, which is Sylvester McCoy's final story, and the final episode, the final story of the classic era.
Back in 1989.
And it involves the Master and cheetah people,
Riding
and the
horses.
Master has cat eyes. Yeah.
What in the world?
Yeah, she's coming back to write Modern Who. And honestly, if it is even half as bananas as Survival is, I am in.
Would you like to hear some more information?
Sure.
So the episode is going to be the 9th episode of the season, and the title is The Eaters of Light.
Interesting.
Oh, I like that.
And here's a fun little quote that Mono gave to the BBC. Writing Survival was my dream job, but it was a mournful time in the show's history. This has been a very different experience. There's more of everything. Resources, confidence, success, but the same constantly renewing and indefinable wonder that is Doctor Who. When I was very small, I remember watching the first Doctor. I had a special cushion known as Rona's Doctor Who cushion.
Aww.
I would hide my face in it when the Daleks or other monsters appeared on screen. The Eaters of the Light is my version of other stories that have haunted me for almost as long.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's 57.
Wow, she must have been pretty young when she wrote Survival.
Yeah.
20s, right?
Yeah, I think that's that about right. Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So yeah, is this the first classic Who writer to return to the new show?
I think it might be.
Yeah. We've had
God, could you imagine?
because
Go ahead.
we've had a classic director come back.
Yes.
But I don't think a writer has.
Right. I think she's the first writer. Can you imagine if Robert Holmes was still alive and had gotten to write
God.
an episode of Modern Who? I mean, my God. Ugh, good
Man,
Lord. Anyway.
Season
Yeah, that
10,
was
guys.
huge news.
that's
huge
bonkers
news.
crazy.
I know.
What?
And Nadine. I just want to temper our excitement.
I know, but
Yeah.
You know what's even crazier? So next week is Thanksgiving, right? That super problematic holiday that we have here in America.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's 3 more weeks until Christmas break starts.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, guys, the what is it, like Baron von Zoom across the 8th dimension? What's the Christmas special
Oh
called?
God, I wish that's what it was called. No, the Return of Dr. Mysterio.
The Return of Dr. Mysterio is like, it's less than a month. It's like a little over a month away.
Yeah, I think if we have this timed right, we will wrap this season of TDC just as the Christmas special hits.
nice.
And then hopefully when we come back in January, we will be able to get through one more season of Long Way Round before the new season starts, I think.
And then all our listeners will come back.
I know. I know the new Who surge of listeners. It's really funny.
Much like BBC's Doctor Who merchandise, our numbers have gotten a bit.
They go down between new episodes of Doctor Who.
It's like the crops in winter, though. It's nothing we weren't prepared for.
No, it happens. I mean, it's happened literally every time on this show. So
Do people just
I've been doing the show since 2009. So
yeah.
yeah. Wow. Oh my God.
Well, I think
There's going to come a point where I'm going to have done this show for 10 years.
Jesus. I thought you started with Matt Smith's era.
No, we started with End of Time Part 1.
Oh, so yeah, barely 2009.
Yeah, but still 2009.
Yeah.
So
It was kinda 2009.
yeah, like this is kinda 2016,
And this is kinda the episode of Doctor Who we're gonna review.
Nice. So let's talk about Kinda.
All right.
Cass, tell us about Part 1.
All right. So there's this expedition, this human expedition, in their like space dome, and they're on this jungle planet called Deva Loka. Live in La Deva Loka.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I will never ever unhear that. Ever.
You're welcome. So they're basically planning on colonizing the planet. So this is like the scout party, and
that reminds me. There's a character in the Phantom Menace, one of the Jedi in the Jedi Council, and her name is Deepa Balabla.
What?
Like her name is like Deepa. Do you know who I'm talking about, Nick?
I'm sure if I saw a picture of her, I'd be like, oh,
She's like the one who she's the one that's like kind of human, like pretty humanoid looking. I think she's South Asian.
Does she look like a person of color? And does she have like weird little like tentacled hair?
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
I know exactly who that is. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's Deepa Balabla.
Well, I don't even know how to type that, so we'll just.
Yeah, I don't know either. So anyway, so anyway, yeah, on Star Wars Minute, they have this joke that every time they talk about her, they say, "I like Deepa Balabla."
Oh my God.
Nice.
And it's amazing, and that's what this reminded me of. So anyway,
Oh my God. So there's this scouting party on this jungle planet, but the scouting party is not going as well as they hoped because 3 members are missing. So the only people in the base are the commander, whose name is Sanders, and he is like every stereotypical colonial era older British gentleman.
He's amazing.
He even has like the little safari hat. And
Legit.
his little old man workout routine is the greatest thing.
Oh man, it's so legit. Like he's just doing push-ups and running in place as he's speaking to the scientist.
And when he's running in place, he's like it's like knees all the way up to his chest.
Yeah,
like
hardcore.
It's just very proper.
This dude has read a lot of Alan Quartermain books.
Yeah.
So there's the security guy whose name is Hindle, and he looks like Kylo Ren, kind of. He's like really annoying and whiny, and borderline crazy. Yeah. And the scientist, who is this lady with the last name of Todd, because it's a expedition, so everyone goes by last name only.
Sure.
So Todd's like, Sanders, Hindle is being weird and lurking in the hallways again, and maybe you shouldn't push him too much. And Sanders is like, doing push-ups.
I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm in charge, so whatever. And they are
conquered India.
they're studying the native population, and they have 2 like test subjects, I guess, like locked in a cell, and the people are called Kinda, which is why the story is called Kinda. And
they're kinda looking for unobtainium.
Yeah. Oh
my God.
They're looking for more room, basically.
Unobtainium.
I know, they even have the mech suit.
Yeah, they even have the mech suit.
My God, I love the mech suit so much.
The one guy is Stephen Lang, and the old guy is like Stephen Lang's character, and then Hindle is
Giovanni Ribisi.
Yeah, Giovanni Ribisi, and then you've got Sigourney Weaver here.
Yeah.
Todd,
Oh my
Sigourney
God.
Weaver.
Grace, Dr. Grace.
Yeah, Dr. Grace. I mean, it's literally Avatar. It's literally Avatar.
But Doctor Who did it first.
Yeah, but Who did it way, way first. I mean, it didn't beat the Pocahontas story, but or like Last of them. I guess did it beat everything? Like all of the filmed versions of that story?
Is history. Pocahontas really happened.
Well, yeah, but Pocahontas didn't happen the way that it happened.
Yeah, the real version is much sadder.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like Avatar. But, it beat Fern Gully and it beat Last of the Mohicans and
Dances with Wolves and whatever else
Dances with Wolves. Yeah.
Avatar was compared to.
Right.
Wasn't Last of the Mohicans a book?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess maybe it didn't.
It's a terrible book.
Oh.
Did you have to read it like in school?
Yes. Oh, God. Anyway. So.
Yeah, the Scott, The Last of the Mohicans was written in 1757.
Okay, so, all right, so look, it didn't beat that one, but I doubt it's referencing it either.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. So Hindle is basically blaming these two Kinda people for their teammates being missing, and he's being, like, kind of shady. So the TARDIS arrives. Nyssa is, like, dizzy because she, like, passed out at the end of the last episode, and the Doctor basically makes her like a white noise machine with his sonic screwdriver to, like, make her sleep for 2 days. And I don't know.
Go to sleep for about 4 episodes.
Right. And I'm not sure why she can't sleep in space, but they just park on this planet and explore. And
it's like sleeping on a plane. Some people can do it, some people can't.
I guess so, but the inside is stable. Whatever.
That's true.
So for the sake of the story, they stay on the planet and explore, and they find this clearing with, like, these giant. They look like, the plastic things that, like, wipe your car after you go through a car wash, like the plastic curtains. It kind of looks like that. And they're like,
probably was that.
They're like flimsy, clear plastic things, and they're like giant wind chimes. So, like, they, like, make music. And the Doctor is, impressed, and Adric, like, basically does the equivalent of smashing all the keys on a piano simultaneously. And Tegan gets tired, so she takes a nap while the Doctor and Adric go off and explore, and they find the this mech suit, and Adric messes with the mech suit, as Adric is wont to do, and the mech suit escorts them to the dome base, but Tegan is asleep under the wind chimes, and she basically, like,
my favorite Paul McCartney album.
Sleep under the wind chimes.
Yeah.
So she starts to dream, and the dream sequences are all really trippy. They're all in very stark, like, black and white.
Mm-hmm.
They are you almost want to, like, you almost want to hit mute and put on like a Soup Dragons album,
or like Pink Floyd or something.
Yeah,
like, it's really, really trippy. So she, at the beginning of the episode, Adric and Nyssa were playing chess. So she dreams, and in this, like, dark, stark black and white dream there's this woman that is dressed like the Queen of Hearts, and this guy that looks, I don't know, he looks like a fop, basically. So they're, like, dressed up and they're playing chess, but it's, like, weird chess, so there's, like, an extra board and, like, extra pieces. And so they're like, oh, well, she's an illusion, so she's just like, all right, this is a weird dream. And then all of a sudden, this other guy, who sounds like Prince Joffrey when he speaks, but he's dressed kind of like a court jester, but he doesn't have, like, the pointy hat or anything. So he's basically, like, following her around and messing with her, and finally, like, he's like, okay, well, let's play a game, and she's like, okay. And he, like, conjures up another like Tegan, like a mirror image of Tegan, and he's like,
We'll call her Sarah.
sure, yeah, Tegan and Sarah. So he's like,
I was like, why? No.
so he's like, all right, so in order for you to escape this dream, you have to decide which one is real and which one is fake. And so while this is happening, the Doctor and Adric arrive at the dome, and, you know, Hindle, the crazy security guy, immediately pulls a gun on them, and Colonel Sanders...
How'd you like that sweet canine quote?
I know.
It was amazing.
I bet you
I was watching. It was like, oh, Nick will love that.
I bet you the writer just was bitter that he couldn't have K9 in the story, so he quoted K9.
I know I am.
So, you know, the commander is basically asking, you know, like, how did you get here? What is your purpose here? What happened to our missing crew? How did you find this mech? And they're basically, like, the Doctor, like, talks them down. And the Doctor starts talking to the lady scientist, and he's just like, all right, well, you know, what are you guys about? Like, what are you doing here? And they talk a little bit about, like, the Kinda people that they have in the dome, and how they don't speak to each other, but clearly they're communicating, and, you know, that because they don't speak, they're savages. So the Doctor makes a new friend, and then, like, Hindle goes crazy after telling them that Sanders wants to talk to them. He basically, like, smashes, like, he has a big hissy fit and smashes everything in the lab, and then calms down, which is so weird. But he's basically in the lab, and he has, like, this mirror, and he holds up the mirror to the Kinda, and the Kinda, like, as we find out later, the Kinda speak telepathically, so for some reason, using a mirror, he, like, speaks to them. So basically, like, he starts talking to the Kinda, and, like, the scientists and Sanders are arguing, because Sanders is like, well, I'm going to go out and explore the jungle and find our missing crew, so I'm going to leave Hindle in command because you're just a scientist and a woman, so you can't be in command. And so she's like, I don't know if that's a great idea. And he leaves, and he's like, ta-ta for now. And Hindle, like, goes crazy and just starts yelling at them about how they're, like, traitors, and he, like, comes out, and the Kinda people have guns, and he's just, like, yelling at them about how he controls their fate now, and that's how the episode ends.
I'm sorry, the line is...
Oh my God, say it.
I have the power of life.
I have the power of life and death over all of you!
So, this is the greatest cliffhanger I've ever seen in Doctor Who. Because we cut to an extreme close-up of Hindle acting his ass off, screaming like, I have the power of life and death over all of you. Then you cut immediately to Baker. No, to Davidson. Sorry, to Davidson.
No, just Davison.
Davison.
Yeah. Making,
like, the face you make when your car doesn't start.
Yeah, like, what the hell?
And then it smashes, like, to the end credits song.
It's like, I have the power of life. And then the Doctor's like, huh.
Oh man,
it was amazing.
It's pretty phenomenal. It's pretty phenomenal. So yeah, tell us about part 2, or as I like to call it, there is no Tegan, only Zool.
Yeah, I like to call it Tegan through the looking glass.
I thought you were going to say there is no Tegan, only Sarah.
There is no Tegan, only Sarah. That's what Sarah says to Tegan after every concert as they go to bed.
There is no Tegan, only Sarah.
All I want to get is a little bit.
Why are you talking like that?
Why are you talking like that?
Why are you talking like that?
What's all this then?
Anyway, go ahead.
Callback. So,
Tegan and Sarah are Canadian. I don't know why.
I know why
they were
they're British.
I don't know.
Oh, Gene, what are you talking about, eh? You're talking nonsense.
Why are they Irish now?
You sounded like a Yank.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
So Sanders, he's in the he's in the mech. You see like Jane's dad from Tarzan in this like giant mech. Just like roaming through.
And when you say mech, it sounds more impressive than it is.
Oh no, it's a box.
Yeah, it's just a refrigerator box.
It's a refrigerator box with like robot arms, and it's on like
it's magical.
Oh man. So
and he is so serious.
Yes, he is. He's about to wreck shop, and he's almost near the Kinda village. So, Panna, the shaman, the female shaman, who I kept calling her the Frog Queen,
no.
because she, rest in peace, probably, but she.
I mean, I think it's pretty safe to assume.
I can imagine the casting director when this actress walked in, like, oh my God, send everyone else home. Because this woman looks like she was, and I mean, this is going to sound mean, but I mean this in the best way possible. But she looks like she was created by Rick Baker. She just looks so otherworldly and ancient and weathered. She's amazing. So Panna, and she has an acolyte named Karuna.
Kahuna.
And she's like, give me that small box, because only I don't know, not to get political, but in Kinda society the males are mute and only the females can speak. So before Sanders comes near, Eris returns to the village and is all like mad and angry. So Panna tells Karuna to like, hey, telepathically communicate with the man Kinda so I can find out what's wrong with him. So she senses great pain and anger, and one of the Kinda is captured, or she finds out that one of the captured Kinda is actually Karuna's brother, right? Karuna's brother?
Eris's brother.
Eris's brother.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's why he's mad.
Gotcha. So meanwhile, the Doctor, Adric, and Todd are locked in a cell. And there's some amazing banter going on back and forth between the Doctor and Adric. This whole episode really has. This was the episode where I really started. Maybe this is random, but where I really started getting the chemistry of the Doctor and these children that he's looking after. You know,
These children,
these weird kids. So the Hindle dresses the Kinda that they've captured in colonial uniforms. Meanwhile, Sanders is getting nearer and nearer to the women back in the village. Karuna says that it's dangerous for a male to take the box, but Panna's like, no, we have to do it. So Karuna presents him with the box. Sanders takes it, and he's, quote, overcome by a psychic force.
mm-hmm.
So that's
the psychic force looks like how getting that first warm feeling when you take your first shot and you just get like that warm feeling.
Oh yeah. It's cold outside.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay, just a shot of whiskey in the winter.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's just like this like red kind of like glow overtakes him, and he has like this like warm fuzzy look on his face.
Yeah, or like when like a fat drunk guy in a cartoon is drunk.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about the jail cell?
Please, let's do.
Okay, so I want to talk about okay, Hindle has put the Doctor and Adric and Todd,
and
whose
Todd.
name I keep forgetting because it's It's a last name, and so it's weird.
And it's a kind of a.
It's a woman who looks a lot like the Madam President from Battlestar Galactica.
Oh my god, she does.
Yeah.
Who I always thought looked a lot like Elizabeth Slatten.
Huh.
Well, it all comes around. There you go. So anyway, so the three of them
I know
are
I pronounced
in this.
Elizabeth Slatten weird. Don't email me.
I think it's Sladen.
Yeah, it is Sladen.
Sladen.
Yeah, I think it's Sladen. So anyway, Adric is teaching the Doctor a magic trick. And it's the dumbest magic trick because he's just like, pick a hand, and he's like, that one. And there's nothing in it. He's like, oh, that's very clever. And he's like, all right, we'll pick a hand. He goes like, well, logic says I should pick the opposite hand. So I'm going to pick the same hand, but you might have thought of that. So I'm going to pick this. I'm going to pick the other hand. And there's nothing in it. And he's like, oh, dang it, where is it? He's like, pick a hand. He's like, I picked both of them. And he's like, that one. And it's empty. That one is empty. And he's like, well, what the hell? And then Adric pulls it out of his ear, and he's like, oh, that's very clever.
Yeah,
and then he's like, I want to try. Let me just say, Adric has not taught the Doctor this magic trick.
Right.
At all. He's just shown him a magic trick, not how to do it. So then he's like, I want to try. So then he does it, and he goes over to Todd, and he's like, pick a hand. She's like, we're in a jail cell. Do we have time for this? He's like, just do it. And she's like, fine, that one. And he's like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. And Adric's like, open your hand. He's like, it's the one with the coin in it. Damn it. And it was like a very 10 moment. Like I just imagined David Tennant as a young boy watching this scene and being like, if I'm ever the Doctor, I'm going to be like that.
Which we know he probably did.
Yeah, because it's a very 10-ish kind of thing. Like the thing where he's like, pick a hand, that one. Are you sure? Like, that's like, and he's just like kind of like disappointed and dejected that he isn't doing the trick right. And it's just like, oh, buddy, he never taught you how to do the trick. He just showed it to you. It's not actually magic, man. Come on,
Doctor.
Yeah. Anyway, I really love that.
No,
scene.
It's amazing. It's great. So Hindle is now even more crazy bananas, and he says that he wants to sterilize an area 50 miles around the dome using fire and acid, because he believes that the plant life of Deva Loka is Loka, for lack of a better term. So Adric manages to persuade Hindle that they're on the same side, and then takes the cell key, and unfortunately. He tries to smuggle the key to the Doctor in the cell, fails. Adrics it up.
Yep.
She just Adrics the crap out of that plan. So, meanwhile, Tegan, still trapped in the world between worlds, is arguing with Sarah. I just want to say, I don't think we've really painted an accurate picture for the listener about just how effing weird the cinematography is whenever they're in like the dreamscape is.
It reminds me of so I don't know if Cass has ever seen Spaced, but I know you have, Nick.
Yes.
And that episode where they go to performance theater.
Oh my god, yes.
That's what it reminds me of.
See, it's funny.
Like, just like rabbits.
See, it's so funny that you say Spaced, because I was getting so. Have you guys ever seen a show that aired in England called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place?
No.
No.
That sounds amazing.
Okay, so there's a show that aired like in the 2000s called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And it was sort of made by the same people. Have you guys ever seen The Mighty Boosh?
Yes.
I have seen, I think, the first episode.
Okay, so it's kind of like, it's something that Richard Ayoade made before The Mighty Boosh. And it kind of has like a lot of the same people. But it's like so in the world of the show, Garth Marenghi was like Stephen King. And he created this vanity project where it was like they're working at a hospital. But
Who plays him?
Oh God, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, so, and it's purposefully shot on this very like low res video, like 80s video format.
I think I've heard of this. If you tell me who is playing that guy, I know I'll have heard of this.
And it reminds me a lot. I can imagine like, oh, this is probably what they used as like a frame of reference, was like this era of Doctor Who. Garth Marenghi was played by...
Because I think Richard Iowati had something to do with that show.
Yeah. Well, he played Garth Marenghi's like best friend and publisher.
I think he might have directed that show.
He probably did. And he wrote it and created it with Matthew Holness, who played Garth Marenghi.
Is that the guy from IT Crowd, the boss?
No, he was in one episode of The Office. Yeah, he actually doesn't have a lot of credits. That's too bad.
Well, anyway, all right. So that's cool. So it reminds you of that.
Yeah,
it does. It reminds me of The Double a little bit too.
Yes,
there are scenes in The Double that remind me of this a lot.
So
which is
it's crazy.
Richard Iowati movie.
So Ducka returns to taunt Tegan and adds more Tegans. There's Tegans and Sarahs and all kinds of things. And she's like, "Why are you doing?"
Is Tegan, the actress who plays Tegan, is she a twin? Is that her twin? Or are they doing a split screen thing? Because when it's just Tegan and Sarah, if it's split screen, it's really good split screen.
I don't think she's a twin.
So that's just really excellent split screen. It's not good when there's like dozens of them, but when it's just the two of them, it actually looks really good.
It's probably because the background's so dark, so there's no like visible seam.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, did you know Space is off Netflix?
No, really?
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Anyway, had your chance, guys. Now I have an excuse to buy that really awesome DVD set with like.
It is really awesome. Every episode has 3 commentary tracks.
Oh, I love Edgar Wright commentaries.
I know.
Hello. Anyway, so that's my.
Your Edgar Wright impression.
Yeah.
I love when you pull it out every time you do, because it's so spot on, but such a bizarrely random impression to have in your
like it will never
quiver.
Like I will never be asked to do that.
Your Edgar Wright impression is the equivalent to your boxing glove arrow. Like it's like, why would you ever need this?
Someday someone's gonna ask me to do an Edgar Wright impression. So Tegan's like, leave me alone. Oh, so Ducka's like, I want your body, I want your physical form, you dumb Brit. And she's like, leave me alone.
Wow.
And so she's left. So she's like, leave me alone. And she's like, okay, tee-hee.
Also, I love that you call her a dumb Brit. She's Australian.
She's supposed to be Australian.
Oh, right. The one person on the show that doesn't apply to.
Yeah.
I always forget which one of. I always forget if Nissa or Tegan is Australian, but it is Tegan. Yeah. So she's left completely alone. Tegan submits to the will of Ducka. Taking his hand, the mark of the snake moves from his forearm into hers. She wakes up in the clearing with a malevolent grin, and she's now possessed by Rooney Mara.
I really like how they do the possession effect. Being that it's just like a bloody mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that's how you know. They have like smoky eyes and a bloody mouth, and that's how you know that that's the Mara. Like the kind of like the real kind of bloody mouth, not the kind of bloody mouth that you see in movies where there's just like blood like gushing out of their mouths. But like it's just like if you took like one of those blood pills, like those blood capsules, like for Halloween, and you just bit on it and then just like kind of dyed your teeth.
It kind of looks like
It looks like that.
They smeared like Kool-Aid, like cherry Kool-Aid on their mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Either one of those could be what they actually did.
Absolutely. But it looks real. I like it. I think it's a really effective way to do possession in a way that, because like whenever you see possession and stuff, it's always eyes, always, because it's like, oh, the eyes are the windows of the soul, but there's another soul in there, so the eyes are what's different. And it's like, yeah, okay. But this mouth thing is cool because I've never seen that other than in this story. And I think it's a really cool way to visualize that this person is possessed.
Yeah, no, it's really effective.
And he had Kool-Aid mouth in the dream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when she wakes up with Kool-Aid mouth, you're like, whoa. And I also want to say Tegan Zool is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's really good.
I never realized that when she is possessed, she's actually using her like legit real life accent because she's not from Australia. She's like British.
Uh-huh.
So like she drops the accent and you can tell she's just like bringing it. And I don't like Tegan, the character, but I love this performance so much because it's so good.
It bums me out that she doesn't do it after this episode. Like she's Tegan Zool for like 3 scenes, and then she ends up giving it to that other guy, and then that guy is Zool for the rest of the story. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's a bummer because she was amazing in that role.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Very kind of a Billy Piper turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So meanwhile, Hindle is planning on punishing Adric for being a naughty boy when Sanders returns to the dome in his amazing box robot thing. Hello. But now, because he took that shot of whiskey, he's now very like playful and like he's like capering about, and
he's a fun drunk.
He's the opposite of Bruce Springsteen's dad. So he offers the box to...
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Sorry. I just got done reading his book, so I have that on the brain. So he offers the box to Hindle, who's super freaked out about what might be inside. Meanwhile, Zool Tegan encounters Eris in the jungle. She can sense that something's wrong and starts to, like, taunt him and, like, says, like, yeah, you can, you want to have Kool-Aid mouth? And he's like, sure, I don't even know what that is. And so he transfers the mark of the snake. And then Eris becomes the new host of the Mara. Meanwhile, Hindle has imprisoned the Doctor, the Todd, and the Sanders in the cell.
Well, I want to talk about that scene where she transfers it, because when he walks around and then he like sits down under a tree, like kind of dejectedly. And when he sits down under the tree, he like passes the tree and you can see Tegan's legs in the tree. And then the camera follows him as he sits down. And so then she's off camera, and it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a way that classic Who isn't normally creepy, because they don't tell you that she's in the tree. They never like tell you that she's going to be in the tree. You're just following Eris. And he's like, over here, I'm just going to go sit by this tree. And then
it's kind of Charlie Browning it.
Yeah, and then he goes and sits down, and you just see legs in a tree, and you're like, oh my God, what? It's awesome.
Yeah, this episode is like...
She throws some apples at him.
This episode is really well directed.
Yeah.
Has to be said.
Yeah, it is.
Has to be said. Anyway, so Hindle has everyone in prison, and he's like, open the box or I'll shoot you. And then the Doctor opens it, and Todd screams bloody murder, and the episode.
I love this cliffhanger.
Yeah.
That's a good cliffhanger. I like the way that it's timed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like so much tension about opening the box. And then as soon as he opens it, she lets out a blood-curdling scream that combines with the cliffhanger music. Oh, it's so good. It's really good.
Good episode.
So anyway, part 3, or as I like to call it, what's in the box?
Yeah.
So we get the repeat of the box opening, and a Jester's puppet like pops out of the box like a can of snakes, and it pops out and they start laughing, and then they're like, that's great. The Kinda have a sense of humor. That's hilarious. And then they look deeper in the box and they're like, they see something, and Hindle starts freaking out. And this whole time, Hindle's favorite word, like he must have learned the word silence recently, like in his vocabulary lessons. Because he uses silence constantly. There's a part in part 2 where Adric tries to talk and he goes, silence! And there's a beat and he goes, all right, speak up. What is it? It's absurd. So anyway, so he's telling everyone to shut up and tell him what's happened to the lights, because all the lights start flickering as the Doctor and Todd leave their jail cell. And they start seeing visions of the Kinda sort of beckoning to them. And they're like, okay, that's weird. So then they escape, and Hindle's freaking out because all the cameras aren't working and he can't see what's going on in the jail cell, which gave Todd and the Doctor a chance to leave. So then they get out there and they get to sort of like a clearing where they can go either left or right. And the Doctor's like, well, let's flip a coin for it. Heads, we go this way. Tails, we go this way. And he like flips the coin. And he's like, heads. And she starts to go toward heads. And she's like, then we're going tails. And then walks toward tails. And he's like, all right, tails it is. Why the hell did I flip a coin then? But I liked that he flips the coin because, it's been presumably, let me see if we have dates here. On this Wikipedia page that I've got open, I don't see dates for the particular episodes. So I don't know if the show was weekly at this point or if it was twice weekly, because there were multiple times during the run of the show where it would be like every like Tuesday and Thursday, or Monday and Wednesday, or whatever.
Same Doctor time, same Doctor channel. Right,
and then other times where it would be like once a week. So I don't know if they were weekly or not, but regardless, we had the setup of the coin in part 2, and now we're getting the coin set up again because it's going to pay off later in this episode. So it's like reminding the audience, like, you haven't watched the show in a week, but he had a coin, remember? So I like that, just as a subtle like setup thing. I know it's like meat and potatoes kind of storytelling stuff, but it's interesting to see it in the context of a show like this.
Well, you can't forget your meat and potatoes, Scott.
It's true. So
how can you have your pudding?
So they go, Hindle screaming about silence, and there's this part where what's the old man's name?
Oh, Sanders.
Sanders,
yeah.
Right. So Sanders is talking to Adric about like what they're gonna do, and Hindle says silence, and he's like, silence, listen. And he starts to read, and then Adric interrupts him, and he says, silence, listen. And he's like reading from the manual, and he basically is describing a no-win scenario in which the natives of the planet that they are inhabiting, if there was a situation in which they may gain access to the dome, they can, the leader, in this case Hindle, because he's in charge, the leader has the authority to destroy the dome so that the natives can't get it. And so he's like, do you know what that means? It means I can blow this place up. And I can do that because I'm the leader. And he's very, very happy about this flawless logic that he has he's come across. And Adric is just like, oh boy, why am I stuck here? And so then Todd and the Doctor are walking around in the jungle. They realize something's following them. And first Todd realizes it, and the Doctor's like, that's ridiculous. And she's like, no, come here and look. And he comes and looks, and he goes, oh, hey, I think someone's following us. And she's like, oh, okay, great. And then this kabuki mask dude bursts out of the trees and starts doing a little dance. And all these other Kinda natives show up. and it turns out he's sort of like the court jester of the Kinda, and he does a lot of like gymnastics and dancing and stuff, and like hopping around. He's a real kooky character, this jester. And he's also a really terrible mime. So I guess if you're into really bad miming,
and I
this
am.
guy. Oh man. He does that thing with his face where he crosses his hand across his face and makes different facial expressions every time he passes his hand across his face. Only he passes his hand across, they shoot it from the side so you can see his face changing.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It's one of the cases of poor direction
Yes.
or poor blocking or poor framing or something. But it's not great. And so the doctor's like, okay, well, they don't communicate with words, so how can I impress them and impress upon them that we're friendly? Oh, I know. I'll do this magic trick that Patrick taught me. And Todd's like, oh no. And then he does it. He pulls the coin out of the jester's ear, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then that's when Eris shows up and is like, hey, I can talk now. That means I'm the boss. And they're like, oh, what? He's like, there's a prophecy that when one of they do this thing where they call the among we, and then the doctor and Todd are the not we. So he says, seize the not we. I am the prophesized member of the among we who gains a voice. And now I am to be the leader.
Yeah.
And as you do.
Politics.
And so they're just like, okay, I don't know what to do. And then we go back to Hindle, and Hindle is on cloud 9 because they have set up explosives all over the dome, and all they have to do is flip a switch and the whole place goes up, and he feels much safer. And Adric is like, well, what do we do now? And he's like, what do we do? We relax. And he takes off his jacket and he's like, let's hang out.
Let it all hang out.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And so the doctor and Todd, they leave with
The Doctor and Todd.
Doctor and Todd, they leave with Karuna. She's taking them to the elder, Panna, and they're taking me. She's talking about how she has 7 fathers, and they're like, how does that work? And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, most people just have one father. And she's like, one father? That's sad. And they never really talk about it again. I'm like, okay, I guess they have 7 dads. All right, that's weird.
Like, anyway, a lot of questions.
A lot of questions about that. Any theories about the 7 dads thing?
Well, here's the thing. So there's option A, men can have multiple partners on, the Kinda can have multiple partners, which is fine. Polygamy, not unheard of on Earth.
Sure.
But I prefer option 2 because it's far stranger, which is that it takes 7 people to reproduce.
Well, or
Kinda.
is it when she says that she has 7 fathers, is she referencing the fact that everyone in the crew, everybody's got 7 fathers, or does she have 7 fathers and that's why she has the psychic gift?
I just took it to mean that, like, it's multiple people raising a child. Like,
it takes a village and all that.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like,
All right. So everybody's got like 7 dads.
yeah, or however many are close.
Everybody is everyone's dad.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So they arrive at Panna's cave, and she comes out and she's like, did you bring the woman that we sent the message to? And she's like, I did. She comes over and she checks her out and she's like, okay, great. And she's like, I also have someone else. And she's like, what? Who? And the doctor's like, oh, hello, I got the message too. And she's like, that's impossible. Men can't survive the psychic message. If you got our psychic message, you would have gone insane. And she's like, unless she gets closer and she goes, are you an idiot? And the doctor's like, it's been suggested. And she's like, come along, idiot. Stop talking. It's like, okay. So now she just assumes the doctor's an idiot because it's the only way a man could have ever survived that psychic blast that she sent them. And, the doctor being the doctor, he just sort of rolls with it because that's what he does. And speaking of insanity caused by that damn box, Hindle has gotten the bright idea that he wants to build a city of cardboard. It's arts and crafts time. Yeah. He's like, it's time for arts and crafts. And Sanderson's like, oh God, I would love to help you. And he's like, what, really? And he's like, yeah, that sounds like so much fun. And so they just start building a city out of cardboard boxes. In like a replica city out of cardboard boxes. And they're having a gay old time. And
like the Flintstones.
Yeah. And then we come back and right, like the Flintstones, exactly. And then we go back and Karuna starts freaking out because Panna, so like the heiress and the rest of the Kinda show up at the cave to confront them about having the Notwees, and Panna's like, I don't understand what's going on. Karuna, you better read all of them psychically and tell me what's going on, because I don't know why they would be following Eris, because it's obvious that there's something wrong with Eris, so why would they be following Eris? So she tries to read them all psychically, and she gets overwhelmed and starts freaking out. And then she reads Eris, and Eris like kind of takes control of her, or like puts her under mind control or whatever. And so then that's when Panna senses that Eris has the mark of the snake, and then Eris is like, let's get out of here, and runs off. And Panna's like, yeah, the mark of the snake, that's the Mara. And they're like, really? The Mara? That's like, what is that? And they're just like, oh yeah, it's this crazy snake god. It's not a good time. And they're like, wow, okay. She's like, yeah, let's do this kooky psychic thing in this cave here, and we'll check out what's going on. So they do this psychic cave thing, and they go inside this vision, and like once they go inside the vision, like the doctor, basically they all sit down in the cave, they start like this seance thing, and the doctor and Todd notice that outside has changed. So then they walk outside, and that's when they see down below, they see the Kinda doing some sort of seance of their own involving all of these clocks and stuff. And then they see Panna down there, and then the Jester gets hurt and dies. Like the Jester's like dancing around. Like it's literally just a bunch of people standing around a bunch of clocks watching the Jester dude dance around and then have a heart attack. And then Panna's there, and then the time runs out on the egg timer thing, and then the sand runs out, and then the vision ends, and they're like, oh, that was trippy and weird. And they're like, yeah. And then they're like, hey, Panna, let's get out of here. And it turns out that Panna died during the vision. So that's the third cliffhanger. Panna's dead. Mm-hmm. And now what?
Well,
part 4. Now what?
So after Panna dies, her like apprentice Karuna kind of absorbs like her spirit and her memories. So she comes back, and so she's now the wise woman. So she comes back to the cave, and they're like, hey, so Panna died. And she's just like, no, I didn't. And then they're like, oh, this is weird. So
oh, this is weird. Okay.
So they're talking with her about how the Mara might have come into the world, because like it's like banished to this, nether space. And she talks about how the Mara comes to people who are dreaming that aren't like connected psychically,
Yes.
like the Kinda are. So the doctor's like, oh, Tegan. So they go back to the dome because the Kinda, led by Eris, want to kill all the explorers and like destroy the dome because then they will have, I don't know why they want to kill them. But so back at the dome, they're still playing make believe, and
Oh my god, it's amazing. This is my favorite scene in the whole story.
and so Adric's like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I'm gonna go into the mech. And
I mean, just imagine a child surrounded by a bunch of adults. Literally, this is not an exaggeration. They are literally playing with paper dolls and talking to the paper dolls, and Hindle's talking to the paper doll.
yeah.
And he's like, he thinks I'm a special boy. It's just like, and Adric's just like, oh my god, I am in over my head. I need to get out of here.
It's really, really unsettling because it's like a 30-year-old man and a 60-year-old man acting like 5-year-olds in front of this teenage boy. And he's just like, I am out. I can't do
I
this.
need an adult.
They were just like petting the hair of his paper doll, and Hindle's like just like whispering in the ear of his paper doll, talking about how it thinks he's a special boy.
Ready
And not just any special boy, the most special boy.
for a special boy.
Oh my god! And you would think that he was calling the paper boy, the paper doll, the special boy, but no, he is reassuring the paper doll that it is in fact calling Hindle a special boy.
No, it's
the
very-
most special boy.
No, it's very clear. Hindle is the special boy.
Yeah, Hindle is the most special boy.
So
And Adric just like, whoo, speaking of special, I need to get the hell out of here.
Adric's like, nope. And so he leaves and he hijacks the refrigerator box robot. And it's activated by like mind stuff, but he can't control it. So it just kind of wanders into this glen. And the Kinda, and Eris has his own.
I want a meme of Adric inside the machine that just says internally screaming.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I hate Adric, but I love Adric.
I think I love Adric.
Oh god.
Oh my goodness.
He's a gift.
So he's just kind of yelling in this mech and it wanders into this glen, and Eris has his own like fake mech, and it's basically like sticks and it makes like this weird little box around him. So he's like, oh well, now we have our own mechs, so we're going to destroy them. So the Kinda start like attacking Adric in this box, and they're just kind of like pushing it and like throwing rocks at it. But Adric is freaking out, so it's just spinning.
And
in a
the
circle.
jester's just doing flips.
Yeah.
Just doing flips and somersaults around it.
So there's just like this weird,
Look what I can do. Look what I can do.
this weird box robot that's teetering, and it's also spinning in a circle, and Adric is yelling inside while these people dressed in like wraps and like loincloths try and push it over. And it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And so Adric, in his confusion, he accidentally like fires one of the robot guns, and he hits Eris, and the other Kinda are like, oh, that's not good, we should leave. And the doctor shows up and he's like, Adric, you need to chill out. And Adric's like, oh, okay. So they free him from the mech. And so they all go back to the dome, And Hindle and Sanders are still playing make-believe with their cardboard boxes. And Hindle finally, because Todd's like, how are you controlling the Kinda? Like, how are you making them do what you want them to do? Because you can't talk to them and they can't talk to you. And he's like, I had this mirror, and so they believed that I stole their soul, so they're my friends now. And the doctor's like, oh, that's weird. And so the doctor, he steps on one of the like cardboard, like the paper dolls, and Hindle loses his
like,
mind.
I love the way that you said, like, the Hindle's like, oh, I had a mirror and they thought I stole their soul, they're my friends now. And I wanted the follow up to be like, but have you heard the news about who the special boy is? It's me.
I believe it is in the interest of the court for us to reiterate that the defendant is indeed the special boy.
I think Hindle might be my favorite villain, my classic Who villain that we've had during the long way round so far.
I don't know. Does the robot count?
No, because he was the tragic villain. The villain of that was the Nazi Party.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
The alt-right.
yeah, the alt-right. He was a tragic figure, I would say, like Frankenstein's monster.
No.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the doctor accidentally crushes one of the paper dolls, and Hindle loses his mind, and he threatens to blow up the dome because he just has the big red button sitting in his lap. So the doctor is trying to, he struggles with him, and he's trying to get the big red button, and he drops the mirror and all that. There's all this weird stuff, and Todd has the box. So she's like, oh, look at this box I have. And Hindle's like, oh, I want to know what's in the box. And she's like, well, you can hold it, but you can't open it. He's like, okay. And then he has it, and she trades the box for the detonator. And he's like, but I want to open the box. And she's like, well, you promised not to. And he's like, well, I'm the leader and a special boy, so I'm going to open the box. And the same, trippy, whiskey shot effect happens. And I guess looking inside the box kind of rights his mind. So the doctor also realizes that, mirrors are cool. What if we can trap the mirrors? How do they work? So he comes up with the idea of trapping the Mara with mirrors. So they come up with this plan, and they use these reflective panels. Where they got them, I have no idea, but they just have a convenient number of reflective panels, and they kind of circle up. He gets the Kinda to hold one, and they kind of all circle up around Eris, and Eris starts freaking out, and the snake tattoo, or the mark of the snake, the Mara, slithers off of his arm, and they get Eris out of the mirror circle, and the Mara just keeps growing until it turns into this dinosaur-sized snake. And it's freaking out a little bit, and it's kind of thrashing around, and then it looks at the mirror and just kind of disappears. So Eris is now back to being his mute self, and the Mara is overcome, and Hindle and Sanders now have their mental capabilities back, and basically it's wrap up, and Todd's like, yeah, so we're gonna tell our home planet that this planet sucks and it's not suitable at all, and we're just gonna, some people want to stay, but I'm over it. And honestly, the doctor,
So it's like Avatar.
yeah, basically. Yeah. The doctor invites her to travel with them, and she's just like, nah, not really. And Nis says okay, and they all say goodbye, and they disappear in the TARDIS and go off on their new adventure.
By the end of this, I was not expecting to be shipping Hindle and Sanderson, and yet They were very much in love at the end of the story. We're going on a romantic stroll through the beautiful jungles of Kinda.
I like a happy ending.
Yeah, I was into it. Also, there was like a weird moment where like the episode was like literally shipping Todd and the Doctor, which I thought was a weird moment.
I like her as, like, you know how everyone has their list of like companions that never were? Like, she's up there on mine because she's super cool.
Yeah, she's cool. She's a really great one-off companion that I wish had come back.
Yeah,
she would be cool if Peter Davison's run wasn't as tight as it is. I wish he had a space where Big Finish could have like gotten her back and they did like a run together.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really cool.
That would have been awesome.
But his run has no air in it whatsoever. Ridiculous. There's no point where you're like, oh, what's he up to now?
Yeah.
We always know what he's up to. But I'll tell you what we're up to. Yeah, Kinda's great.
Yes.
I love it.
Kinda
I realize now I love Kinda. It's Snake Dance that I don't like.
That's fair.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, we'll talk about that in 2018.
Yeah. But yeah.
So if you want to visit our website, go to.
I just wanted to say what we got next is.
Please,
Nick. I hope you're ready.
Oh God.
You're about to watch The Doctor versus the Turd Demon.
No. Part 1.
Vengeance on Varos.
like Dogma.
No, just a turd. Just a turd.
It's like a cat poop and a slug had a baby that was the size of a golden retriever.
Nice.
It's sort of like a mini Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
A little. Only grosser.
Didn't Jabba have a son?
Probably.
He probably had several. I don't know.
In Clone Wars, he had a little baby that they had to like take care of.
Probably.
His name was like Gubba.
Yeah.
Like Gubba the Hutt.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to go to our website at duelinggenre.com, tell us what Jabba the Hutt's son was actually called, or anything else that crosses your mind. What do you think? Are you excited about Doctor Who coming back in season 10? Email us at contact@thedoctorscompanion.us. If you want to talk to us about Doctor Who stuff and you're on Twitter, you can tweet us at TDCPod. And we also have a Tumblr. We've always had a Tumblr, the Doctor's Companion Podcast, tumblr.tumblr.com. How's that going, guys? Isn't that Cassandra's job now?
It's supposed to be.
Unofficially, but I haven't been on Tumblr in like 2 weeks, so.
Sure. Well, who hasn't? It's a horrible place. You can... No, it's okay. It's what you make of it. You can like us on Facebook, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, which is the best thing you can do for our podcast. It really helps us out. And you can also check out our other programs like Back to the Future Minute, which is coming back soon. Lord of the Rings Minute, which is going on right now. Geek by Night, which is coming back with a vengeance very soon. Better than ever. And if you want to support us, you can go to duelinggenre.com/support or click on our donate button. And of course, you can always check out our merch. We have shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of stuff. And special thanks to our Patreon associate producer who has never and will never listen to this, Libra182. And we will see you next time when we go to Varos for vengeance.
Good boy.